The idea is that it's not some kind of a das that once you megala the das and the torah comes off, so you're already in a place of gilui. Just the idea is that the whole time you megala the torah. The way you recognize the das, the way you masik the das, is like something that's nizgala for you the whole time. Kedovah nizgala. It's like always. It's like something that you don't see it clear, and you keep on looking at it, and every time it's like it pops up. You see something, like the Rebbe says, Yimtzos Hashem Yisborach in the first Hastara. If it's Misyageh v'toireach, if a person the first Hastara really wants, the second Hastara, the Rebbe says he doesn't even know that something is muster from him. But in the first Hastara, if it's Yageh v'toireach, so then he could at Yimtzos Hashem Yisborach, he could find the Eibishter. The idea of finding the Eibishter over here in the Torah, which the Rebbe doesn't explain, what does it mean to be Misyageh and Toirech, to find the Eibishter? What does it mean to run up a few steps? What's the Yagiyah? What's the Avodas HaYagiyah? The Avodas HaYagiyah over here is totally in the Das. Like the Rebbe speaks, Kechol Sheniz Gadol HaDas, later in the Torah, there's the Gadol HaDas, the Arbos HaDas, but by the end, the thing that comes out is always like something that is coming out of a mokim, from a mokim muster, and you're coming to a gilui. Now, this kind of idea that a whole time there's astora, and the whole avoid is a whole time to be megala in the astora, and more to be megala more, but it's always like you megala something. Like if I'm here in the room now, I'm not megala the room, right? I see what I see. I'm not megala the closet. It's open. But if we're talking about, let's say, like the Rebbe brings an example of a ner, Ribu Hashem in Mechabes is Oira Ner. Oira Ner is always a light that shows itself, and while it's showing the light, it's showing you that you could see the darkness also. That's the beauty of it, that you look in a room and there's one little ner, so you see that the ner is showing the light between the darkness that's around it. And that kind of idea I'm talking about. Now, this idea is even more deeper when we go into the question that we see the whole Torah is based on a place that the basic way things start off, the first thing, everything starts off in a way from Astora. The Shlili, he's the Brerat Mechdal. The situation is always negative, and the idea is to bring in Arichas Yomim, that means to be marchiv the whole time, to bring in a Gili into the Astora. Where do we see this idea that we keep on dealing with the negative and trying to bring the positive? First, we had it over here in the beginning of the Torah when the Rebbe said that the whole idea of Arichas Yomim is because if he's not going to be Mechiach, so then he's going to be in a B'china from Rabbonos Mekaveres as Baleo. So the whole idea in the beginning, everyone is, what does it mean to be Lahamshich Arichas Yomim? I'm not really Mamshich Chaim. You're just telling me that if I won't be Mamshich Arichas Yomim, so what's going to happen is that's going to be a B'china from Rabbonos Mekaveres as Baleo. So to be Nitzel from the Rabbonos Mekaveres as Baleo, I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do, and then actually I won't get the oynish of Rabbanos Mekaveres Baleh, so I'll be alive. So it's not like I'm really connecting to the Rebbe's giving aids how to connect to Chaim, how to connect to living. The idea is how to run away from the negative, not to be B'chinas Rabbanos Mekaveres Baleh. Now this idea, a whole time keeps on coming back in the Torah when the Rebbe Dugmik speaks about Kefi Goydel Adas. So the Rebbe explains why is it that lefi goydel hadas hapanos b'neikel. The Rebbe says ki kol mi shechoser das b'yoser hu yogea v'toireach achar panos b'yoser. Since if you don't have das, you're going to be in anias, you're going to have a bigger yogea for panosa. So if you don't want to be in that heder hadas, which that's going to be goyim to anias, you should have das. It's like the same thing. If you don't want to be in Rabbanos Mekaveres Baleo, you should do something not to be there, and then you'll have Chaim. And the same Lashon the Rebbe goes on when about the Sholem. The Rebbe says, Gam lefi agdolas hadas, kein isra b'Sholem. And why is it that through das becomes Sholem? Instead of the Rebbe bringing some kind of a straight raya, that das is mar b'Sholem, or das is mar b'chesed, and mar b'ashpo, and shefa and panosa, the same thing the Rebbe comes over here about the Sholem. The Rebbe says, Why is it Kayidei Adas Nigdal Sholom? Why? Kinisbat la Kaz v'Achzorius al Yidei Adas. Why is it? Ki Kaz v'Achzorius hu meheder Adas. So a whole time we have something over here, a certain header, a negative koyach that's very dominant, and it's bringing us to all the negative things. And the way to not to be in that position is to bring das into the story, because if you have das, you don't have the heder adas, which brings all the negative things. The same way you can look at it when the Rebbe speaks about mikveh. The Rebbe says about mikveh, Ke mikveh mushiam b'kol hatzoros. Why does it have to start that way? Ke mikveh mushiam b'kol hatzoros. Why don't you start that through mikveh you're connected to Yeshuos? It starts that the first thing is tzoros. Now the mikveh is mushiam b'kol hatzoros, whatever it is. The same idea we have when the Rebbe speaks after about the doifik, which is the ruach chaim, which is the anocha. The Rebbe's masbe over there, because if not, what happens is it becomes a ipush, the Rebbe says. That means the matzav is that if you let things stay the way they are, it's going down. It's going negative. It's going to a matzav where the domim are going to become nisapish. So al manas to be minea, the domim that shouldn't be mach the ipush, so for that you're bringing in hanocha, which is bringing the ruach doifik to work. And when the ruach doifik is working, so we won't get to that place where the Rebbe says that a lot of times miroiv, that it could come to ipush, it could become korv lemisa, the Rebbe says. So it's very interesting. Why does the whole idea over here in the Torah work in such a way that we're supposed to be keeping ourselves away from the negative influence, that it's like a matzav, that's the matzav lekatchila. So I'm not sure I have the answer for that, but I just wanted to show, to bring up that you have to recognize this tnuah over here in the Torah, which means the tnuah that we had in the beginning from Rabbanos Mekaverses Baleo is not one-time thing here in the Torah. It keeps on coming back a whole time. Now, the way we can understand the idea of Rabbanos Mekaverses Baleo, which actually could maybe explain the other ideas, is that the reason why Rabbanos Mekaverses Baleo is because the matziv of Malchus mitzad atzmoi is mekaverses baleo. If you don't do anything with the Malchus, something good, it's not that you have to do something bad with the Malchus for the Malchus to be mekaverses baleo. The Rabbanos mitzad atzmo is the hefech hachaim, is mekaverses baleo. Why? Because the Malchus itself from a person is a stira mitzad atzmoi to the Malchus from Hashem Yisborach. The etzem thing that a person has, a certain malchus, even the smallest malchus in a pchina from Rebbe Beise, which the Rebbe says that everyone has such a thing. And everyone asks Rebbe Beise, and if I don't have a family, or if I'm not married yet, that's not the point. The point is the Rebbe is trying to show that the world is based, that everyone has a certain amount of power, of shrur, of mamshala. Even if it's a person that has mamshala over himself, that's also a small amount of malchus. But since a person has malchus, so the malchus mitzad atzmo is soysa the malchus from the Eibishter. Mitzad atzmo, einochanami, the whole avodah over here in the Torah is that the malchus shouldn't be soysa the malchus from the Eibishter. You should use your malchus fakir, that should be magdil the malchus from the Eibishter. But if in a status that a person just has malchus mitzad atzmo, it's going to be soysa the malchus from the Eibishter. So we're starting already with a negative thing. That means a person, the way he's born already, there's a negative thing that's soysa the malchus from the Eibishter. Now we can understand ourselves that if it's soysa the malchus from the Eibishter, so l'choira, it's the hefech from Chaim. But we'll get to that. But the reason also why the malchus from a person is soysa the Eibishter is because malchus itself is a gvul. Now I want to explain this idea and come from here to explain something else, the kesher between malchus and das. The noisef from gvul over here in the Torah is a very basic idea. First of all, we understood it in the idea when the Rebbe spoke about the name. And the Rebbe says that the name is magbil, the whole chiyas from the Torah, the Iraisa, which that's the name from the Eibishter, he takes from the Chaya Chaim, which the Rebbe calls it mitzad atzmo, it's ribu yashemen, and he puts it into a kli, which that's a name. And the das, actually, a das, arichas yomim, means bringing in arichas chaim into the yomim, into the midos. So, and that's das. Das, when you learn Torah, and the Rebbe says through learning Torah, through that is a das, that's megala das Torah. So what's das? Das and a name, al-chayr, are the same thing. Because a name has the capability of das. What is das? Das means, when you talk and you say, this person is a badas. When do you use that lashon? He's a badas. A badas means, we're not talking about, you could say about somebody is a chochem gadol. A chochem gadol doesn't mean that he's a person that knows how to talk to other people. He knows how to communicate with other people. Das has to do with communication. Das has to do with the capability to put an idea into a kli where it could sit right in a human mind, and I could even talk it and communicate with this kind of das. We see it because the Rebbe speaks later in the Torah about his galus hadas. The Rebbe says that the dibur is megala the das. What's the idea that the dibur is megala the das? And when the dibur is begolus, so the das is begolus also. What's the idea that the dibur is megala the das? Because dibur are words, just like a name, oisius, and just like the Torah says, the Rebbe says that the Torah itself is a name because it has oisius, psukim. Dibur is something that when it puts the das into a kli. You usually say something that you can't explain. It means you don't understand it. I don't remember who said it. The Chazon Ish said it. Someone like in the yeshiva, and he would say he has a svara. If you can't explain the svara, so I mean, die verstehst das nicht. Was I don't understand it, because if you're not able to put it into words of dibur, which dibur is oisius, which those are kelim to understand, to be able to accept this kind of amount of das. Now, every kli mitzad atzmoi is not just a kli. For the kli to be a kli, it has to be mitzamtzim the thing and master the thing itself also. Because if not, it's going to be ribu yashemen. A dibur that can't be mitzamtzim the rachvus hamachshava can't become a dibur. A person could have an idea which is very wide, but if he won't accept that he has to be mitzamtzim the idea into diburim, into words, it won't become das. And there's no question about it that through the dibur he was able, taka, to let other people understand his machshava that he had here. But in another way, he was mitzamtzim the machshava. It's 100% sure that the machshava is always more rachvistik than the dibur, the way I'm going to be giving it out. Any kind of idea that you have, if you're going to come to try to explain it to somebody and put it into words, even if the other person is very smart, he understands very fast, b'sefer shel dovo, you're always going to have a part of it that what's in machshava, which you feel it a lot more deeper or wider, that you can't put it into words. So that means that dibur is the idea that it puts the ideas into a kli, but the kli itself is a tzimtzum. Because if it wouldn't be mitzamtzum, the thing, it wouldn't be able to go into the kalim of dibur. It has to be mitzamtzum. So every kli is also using mitzad echad. It's a good thing because it's a kli to the idea. Mitzad sheni, the kli is mitzamtzum the thing. Okay. Now, if we understand that, so I want to talk, when we understand what a kli is, and we understand that a name is a kli, and when we understand that das itself is a kli for chokhmah, so I want to come to a certain point here to explain a connection over here between malchus and das, which I think is a very basic thing that's connected a whole time, even though the way the Rebbe connects malchus and das is in the beginning in a very simple way. Like the Rebbe says that the malchus needs arichas yomim, and the Rebbe doesn't speak about das. And the Rebbe doesn't say how you bring arichas yomim. The Rebbe just says that through not using the malchus l'tzorch alanosai and being mashpia tacherim, so then you're not going to be the p'china like we spoke before from Abonos Mekaver says ba'aleo. But then the Rebbe says, but how is he going to know, even if he's metaking the malchus and he wants to be mashpia, how is he going to be mashpia? He doesn't know what the person needs. So the Rebbe says for that he needs das. And the Rebbe says the das itself is also through arichas yomim. So it comes out l'maisa that And how do you get to Arichas Yomim? The Rebbe says, V'lo Arichas Yomim is through the Torah that you learn b'peh. So kum techo is that the Torah that you learn b'peh is the one that helps the first Arichas Yomim in the beginning, that it should become Arichas Yomim, that should be Mikaveres as Baleo, and it's also the second Arichas Yomim which helps you have the Das. But what's the deep connection taka between Das and Malchus? So I want to explain this thing. First of all, we have to understand that if we connected the idea between Das to a Kli and to a name, we have to understand that every Kli has Malchus in himself. A Kli, when the Rebbe is speaking over here, a thing that's Magbel, the thing has Malchus. Why does it have Malchus? Because a cup, which is a Kli for water, has Malchus in itself. What's the Malchus? He's in control of the idea, the way we're going to see what water is. A Kli, the way it's built, has the whole control over the idea that it's accepting inside itself. If a cup, its color changes, or the dugma of the thing changes, the goidel of the Kli, or the kind of Kli, so it's telling a different story. Every Kli is in charge of telling you a story. That means helping you understand something, an idea, accepting the idea. So it needs a lot of Malchus. A Kli that could break in a second is not going to be able to use itself as a Kli to be something that could accept and hold in itself an idea that could be able to be an idea I should be able to say it over to somebody else or give it over to somebody else. So any Kli, ain't a Kli that's begashmi is a Kli, or even a Kli which is called an agdora of a thing, it needs power. It needs power because it does have power. Because it's in charge. It has Mamshala. The Rebbe speaks about Mamshala. The Rebbe says that Malchus is Mamshala also. Srora Mamshala. A Kli has himself a Mamshala. If a Kli doesn't have, it has his Mamshala, Mi'etzim the Mitzias, that it's the Rebbe says, calls it like, the Rebbe calls it Mamshala Tzoifer. It's like a achrayis on something. A Kli has an achrayis over something. It has to stand. It has to have power in itself to be able to be the Kli. The same idea is about Das. I'm trying to make a linkage over here, okay? Das needs Malchus also. And not just Das needs Malchus. There's a moedic connection between Das and Malchus. The first thing, before we explain the connection, we have to look and see there's something very interesting. Hein in Das and Hein in Malchus. Malchus mitzad atzmoi wants to come lidei gilui. If a person has Malchus, he wants to show his energy, his power. It has to come out, and like the Rebbe calls it, if you let the Malchus be mashpia on other people, it's called a ben chorin. If you don't take it to yourself and make it ke'eved lemalas tavasoi, so then the Malchus, you let it be mazir michiach other people, so you're doing something with your Malchus. But Malchus mitzad atzma, everyone understands that if I have Malchus and I'm not moilech on other people, so the Malchus is not worth anything. The same idea, the same tnu is also in Das. Das, the teva from Das is lovoi lizgalus. Like the Rebbe says, that the dibru is gilia das. It's not stam b'mikra. Pshat is there's a das that you can have for yourself. You could be a person moli das and live your life and not talk to anybody. That's called you have das. But if you're going to talk to das, so the dibru is going to call gilia das. No, it doesn't work that way. If a das is not a das that could be spoken, and it's not just that it could be. The ratzon from every person that has das is to be mashpia, is to talk. There's a word in Hebrew, it's called datan. Datan. Al pi roiv, anyone that has das is a guy that talks. Or if someone doesn't have das, he's talking because he wants to show everyone he's nebuchatipish, but the reason why he's talking so much is to show what's inside, what's the primus, what's the das. So it's very interesting. Malchus has a nature that it wants to grow. It wants to come out of itself. It wants to have more control. And the same thing is Das. Das also has. Now why? Because just like a Kli, we said, has to have Malchus in itself to be able to present the idea that it's holding in itself, Das needs also Malchus. You can never think about a person that could speak Das. People that speak Das, they have Malchus. A person that speaks any kind of Das, and he speaks like a nebuch or whatever it is, and he's not saying his das like something that he's sure about. The das hört sich nicht, and also fakert. If a person has malchus and there's no das in his malchus, it's like malchus bloy tage. This is an idea it's another place in the Kutumran that malchus needs das. A person without das, what do you? Mitvos bist the moilach. What's your malchus? What's your part that you have what to give? You don't have what to give here. So, but why does the das need malchus? Because das needs, just like we said, that a kli needs protection. It needs a certain strongness that should keep the thing strong to be able to be a kli. Das needs also protection the whole time. Why? Because das is challenged the whole time. Das is challenged. Every das that a person has, every day that you have, you see, if you have a day about something, if you're the alt steps a day, there's people challenge you with other kind of days. Here, b'mikra denon, the das, the kedusha is challenged through ad mosai psoim to avu pesi, the psius, the shtus, the ksilus, keeps on challenging the das. A das needs to be kept. A das needs to be strong. It needs to be able to be strong and be able to have the power to be able to give it over, and it has the capability to challenge any other das that soiser the thing. If you have a das and in 2 seconds someone says a day afucha and you change your das, dosesh kabadas. They could say there's a word in Hebrew, machlif deot kumo garbaim. Someone changes his day, it's like he's not a badas. A badas means okay. So we could recognize. No, I'm saying that. So what's the pink tagda? I don't know, but I'm saying that the power, what keeps the kli, the power that keeps the kli, what keeps the das is a kli. We spoke that das is a kli, right? Is the malchus of it. Yeah, the malchus is the power that keeps the das and it keeps also the kli.
How can das be malchus if it's unlimited?
If it's what?
If das is that it can go everywhere, then how can it be because the malchus is even.
What does it mean das? What does it mean das could go everywhere?
The way, if you said before that the way to bring out the das is to go everywhere, right?
Right.
So the das is creating something that needs tzimtzum in its own right.
Right.
So that in itself needs tzimtzum, then how can it be? How does it?
Because das has in itself malchus. That's what I want to get here.
It has both.
Das needs malchus. Das needs malchus. What I'm trying to change over here, what I'm trying to get with this whole thing with das is like this. When the Rebbe starts the Torah in the beginning, and the Rebbe said that everyone has a malchus bizgal and a malchus bizkasya. And we understand right away that there has to be something that the Rebbe wants us to do with the Malchus Biskasi. Even though the Rebbe doesn't say Beferish, which is a very big question over here in the Torah. You finish learning the Torah. What did you have? What does a person know? Okay, Rebbe, thank you for telling me that I have Malchus Biskasi. The only nafkamina for me to know it is because you're telling me like this. Since if you're going to learn Torah, so the male of the Torah itself is going to be Mechiach, all the neshamas that are under me. So you should know, be happy about yourself. Because not just it's going to help for the Malchus Bizgali, the people that are under you, that you thought maybe you have to run around and tell them Tichocha. And the Rebbe says, no, you don't have to run around actually, Mamash say Tichocha. If you learn Torah and you bring das into yourself, this das itself, a Torah, Tomid Machrezes Kamayu, and the Torah itself will bring das into these people that are under you Bizgalia. So now it's, nice to know that I solved another problem also. Since you told me at the beginning of the Torah that everyone has another responsibility of a certain amount of neshamas that are under him, biskasya, but what should I do that I can't do anything to help them because I don't know who they are and they're not by me like the Rebbe says to help them. So the Rebbe says don't worry about that also. Because if you're going to learn Torah, so you're going to bring das, so you're going to be able to help those neshamas biskasya. That's the whole idea. But they're always going to stay biskasya. It doesn't make sense. What do I have from knowing this thing? The only way to understand that the Rebbe is telling me that there's a Malchus Biskasya is because the Rebbe wants to tell you that the Malchus Biskasya means just like the Malchus from the Eibishter is Bastora. When you have Malchus Biskasya, that means there's a potential of a certain amount of people that you have that if you would bring Das into the world, you would be able to help these people also. But what I think what's going on over here in the Torah is faket. It's not that you're born with a certain, it's like this. I'm a sorry asoros, you're sorry meyos, he's sorry alofim. And the Rebbe just brings it up to tell you that just like it's bizgal, you should know it's also bizkasya. You should know the same kind of idea. So you should accept that if you stam a guy walking around and you say to yourself, I don't believe that I have Biskasia, thousands of people. I mean, Bisgali, I'm only Moishel and Bnei Abayis. So Biskasia, so the Rebbe says it's proportional. Don't worry, it's proportional. Understand? But if you're a big Rosh Yeshiva and you talk to thousands of people, think about it that you have thousands of neshamas that are also under you Biskasia. I think it could be, it works fakir.
How's that Biskasia? He knows it.
No, he doesn't know. It's like the Rebbe's telling you. The person can say to himself, I learned the Torah. Now, how many people do I have under me Biskasia? So one person would say, the Fide is Galia, probably that's Biskasia. I'm saying, maybe that could have, but that doesn't make sense also. What do I have? What do I gain from it? That's why I think that the idea of Sori Asoris and Sori Meris and Sori Alofim is something that changes the whole time. It's totally in you. What does it mean? If you bring in more das in yourself, that means you brought in more malchus in yourself. Why? Because we said before that das needs malchus, and that's why das has malchus in itself. Why does das taka have malchus in itself, and why does das taka need malchus? Taka, we explained it very nice, because if you don't have malchus, you're not a baldeya. But the truth is that since the whole bri is ki lashem hamelucha, the whole reason why the Eibshter created the words ki lashem hamelucha, so that means the whole reason why we need das is to get to understand what? Ki Lashem HaMelucha. So Kum Techoy said that fakir, it works fakir. If I go and I learn Torah, and then when I learn Torah, I'm actually matzliach to bring into myself das, then I could get a murdik koyach hashpoah on other people that till now was just a potential. It was biskasi, that means it was a potential. Now, how many people? It's going to be totally how much Torah I learn, and how much I use the Torah, and how much I use the das for myself. How much more I'm going to use the das for myself. I'm going to be able to have a bigger koyach and a bigger malchus biskasi that's going to become bisgalia. What's going to happen is that if I'm going to use the das, and I'm going to use the das through the dibu, like the Rebbe says, be megala the das. So then my malchus is also going to become bisgalia. And then it's going to change a whole time from, I'm going to become from a Sari Asaris, I could become myself a Sari Meis. Now the reason why how? Because if I have more das, I have more malchus. It's not that I have a bigger malchus on me? Yeah, because if I have das, when a person gets das, he gets malchus with the das together. Because das is a kli, and das, just like a kli, needs in itself malchus.
Does it have to be? So it's automatic?
There has to be that there's malchus inside?
So you want to say that?
Yeah.
Can I ask
No, meaning there's plenty of people that have das, no malchus.
I know nobody that has das, and we know that he has das because he talks his das, and you don't hear malchus in his das. If you don't know, if he doesn't use it, no. So I don't know he has das. But if you ever see a person that has das bisgalia, that means he talks the das and it sounds like das.
No, if he doesn't talk das.
If he doesn't talk das, how do you know he has das? So how do you know he has das?
No, he has das. There is no gilly over it.
Yeah, but we don't know if he has that.
We don't know.
So who says he has? No, because it works together.
But Metzias, in essence, if there is such an essence.
I don't think there's an essence of a person that has. Did you ever hear somebody that knows how to sing but he never sang?
It could be, why not?
It doesn't work. Because if you never sang, that means you don't know how to sing.
He sang.
You think maybe you know.
I don't know.
Yes, so how does he know? How does he know that he knows how to sing?
He sang in his room.
So who says that because he knows how to sing? Every person knows how to sing in the room. I'm talking about someone knows how to sing. Ich bin nicht sicher. Kann sein auch. Ja. Okay, let's put the singing into a certain box here because.
It's interesting when he's saying that the more reflective of something outside.
It is because that's the most of it. The most of das is not something that you experience and you want to feel it for yourself. When you get das, it's a feeling that you want to be mashpia. I understand something, I want to say it. It's not because I understand something and now I want to say it also. It's two different things. It works together. It comes in together. Now, one second. I want to bring a right. One second. I want to bring a right. Someone's going to say, okay, very nice. You brought it. 1 second. That's what I should forget the right. Okay. The Rebbe says V'shmi Hashem. The Rebbe wants to bring a raya. What happens when the das is begolus? When the das is begolus and the dibur is begolus, the Rebbe brings the pasuk V'shmi Hashem. The Rebbe says it has to do with Mitzrayim. V'shmi Hashem lo inoidati lohem. V'shmi Hashem lo inoidati lohem. From here you see that das is called a shame. Else Rebbe. The Rebbe brings the pasuk V'shmi Hashem lo inoidati lohem. Tzevaisen. That's an idea when the das was begolus. So you see that the shame is das. Now, the Rebbe says, B'chol mokoim mukto mugash lishmi, which that's a raya that is a matziv that the malchus is biskasya, which means that the shame Hashem is biskasya. So you see a connection straight between malchus and das. Das is called a name, and malchus is called a shame. So that's the raya. Now let's get to your question.
You said before that the person could grow.
Yeah.
If he's malchus, he has more people.
Lefi the das, he has more malchus, yeah.
Basically, you're saying it's only if somebody has a lot of das, he can have a bigger malchus. Someone is very passionate. Somebody is simple. The Rebbe says there's people that he has the whole world on it, even tzaddikim that you don't even know.
Chutz from that shtick, I'll explain that shtick. Chutz from that shtick. Chutz from v'yesh echod. You have another question? Another way to ask the question? No, because you started saying there's certain people that what? You started saying there's certain people.
There's certain people that you see that they're very simple people.
Yeah.
They you could say that they're not the biggest going, and they have a lot of people that like them. They have a biggest malchus. Malchus not only when you have that.
Yeah, but you can't.
Malchus is something the guy.
But you can't. It's hard to say what you're saying. I'll tell you why. If you're talking about.
People, you have a lot of people under him. Like you said,
what does he have? What does he have? What's his influence? What's his influence? How does he? Okay, funny is also a certain way how you megala das bedibur. Being funny, that's a certain way of giving over das. It's not, but he has to. If the guy he won't have a crowd.
He mean a smart guy.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not talking about smart. So, das doesn't mean smart. Yes, but das does that. Yes, right. But das doesn't mean the way he said. That doesn't mean dafka smart. Das means a capability of bringing in bigger ideas, in expressing them that other people can understand them. So a person that has that capability, even if he says a lot of jokes, but in the jokes there's ideas. No, I'm saying he's a very funny guy, so people like listen to him. That means that he's giving over a certain thing, a certain idea, a certain machshava, and he's putting it into words.
This is different talk in mouth.
No.
Das meint nicht Busse geht darum, Bilder geht darum. Das ist das meint nicht Busse geht darum, und Bilder geht darum.
Ja, aber so do the emes das, is to do psir. And by the way, just
So that's an expression.
what?
It's more than half.
Das is an idea that's. He doesn't have das. No. No, that means he doesn't have das. He doesn't have malchus also.
He has potential. He doesn't have.
He has the best voice in the world. He doesn't want people to know.
Forget about the voice. Forget about the singing. When you get what?
Crazy lamb.
He holds off.
He doesn't want to.
How do you know? We're getting back to this. How do you know he's a crazy lam? If he's a lam that used to listen to his lamdonis, right? And you see lamdonis, that means he's able to translate his thoughts into words. That's called das. That means the words are the kli. The words are the cup. The idea that I'm able to translate to the words is in the cup. Yeah.
It might be a lamb that you become a shiva, you'll be a bit.
Yeah. It's a potential. It's das and a potential. If Rav Chaim Brisker said it, so that means he has a potential maybe. I don't know. But I wouldn't know, and you wouldn't know that he has das if Rav Chaim Brisker wouldn't say it, because as a human being, if the guy he opens his mouth and he's not able to explain something, so he's not about das.
It's not das. He has something.
He has a lot of things, not das. But here the idea in the Torah is das. Here the whole idea, the Rebbe says, I should forget, the Rebbe says that the Torah is called Umidas Yomai Mai. And the Rebbe brings that Torah is called Ma, Umidas Yomai Mai. The Torah is called Ma because it Mo Eidu Zachukim V'Mishpotim. So it's a simon that the Chukim Mishpotim are called Mo. So what's taka the explanation? Why is it called Mo? Because the Torah is the ma of the thing. What? If you're asking what is it, the Torah represents the ma. There's no ma without Torah, without a kli. The Torah is not stam called ma. Ma edus v'chukim v'mishpatim. The Torah is the ma. Is the ma of the edus and the chukim mishpatim, which that's the Torah. The Torah is the ma of the thing. It's hard to fly around. Yeah, it takes time to understand that there's something called a kli, and that das is a kli, and that a kli needs malchus in itself.
So das again, down the conditions. Whenever stuff malchus, the condition malchus is sure, nicht down the condition.
But I just want to be clear. It's one path. It's two powers. You're saying that have the same tune.
It's because they're connected. I'm saying they have the same tnua because every das has malchus in itself.
Malchus with Mitzvah, or Malchus with another power?
What way is das a kli?
Is Malchus
Now you're going back.
Malchus is a kli, yes.
The Rebbe says that once the person learns the Torah, the Oisis Torah, right? So that through that, since the Oisis Torah, they're like a kli to bring in the Chaya Chaim. So the Rebbe says das comes out. So here's the Rebbe. How did das pop out all of a sudden?
The kli holds the das.
Das is a kli. Das is a kli from Chochmah inside it.
Das goes.
I don't know what you know about das and which Shefer Kabbalah you learned, right? But when Chochmah, right, comes down into Gvulo Yisenushim,
Comes into das.
why? Because das is the kli. Something that's acceptable. Why is das totally in dibur? Why is das totally in dibur? What's the ksha? What does it mean? If you have a dibur, you have to go. Because dibur is communication. Communication, sensible communication, menschliche communication. Where a mind of a person can sit down about it. I just want to turn around this whole thing. I don't know. You guys pick yourselves up 10, 15, huh?
The dibur basically goes from malchus, the das, the dibur to b'tziayim v'peh.
No, it goes that the das and the malchus sit together. They both could be they could both be biskasia. That means they have a potential in themselves, but they're not doing something with it. Okay, that means the das is bigolus, the malchus is biskasia, and you could bring it. You could change the whole thing. You could change it. You could bring it out, mamish to be bisgalia the dibur, and also the malchus that you have should become bizgali, and should be mashpia, and it should happen with it. What the thing wants should be done with it. The das wants to be spoken. The malchus wants to have control. All of this is a move that they move together. I want to get to something else, which I don't remember right now what the connection is. I'm sorry. We started off the shir that everything starts with a kisui, right? Everything is mechusa mitzad atzmoi. It's a shlili, and then there's something that you bring into the thing to be marchiv the thing. The Rebbe says over here, we asked this question, I think it was last week, that the Rebbe says that if the person learns Torah, so he's megala kol hastoris, va'azeh ha-Torah machrezes kamayu. So the question is, after I was Megala the Das already, I was Megala all the Astoris, what's the need for the Torah to be Machrezes Kamayu? I reached the Das already. Mipoi, I'm coming back to the point like this, that the matziv that there always is, just like we said, there's always a negative, there's a stira. The name itself is a kisi, is a tzimtzum. Every kli has its tzimtzum. The malchus itself is soisa. This whole idea comes out in the idea that the pashta matzah from every person is the first hastorah. It's not like this. Usually people are not supposed to be in no hastorah. But there's a matzah Hashem Yirachem that you fall into the first hastorah. And there the Rebbe says you could be misyagea, v'tirech to get out of the hastorah. Oh, good to know. But you should know there's even a worse hastorah, hastorah shebetech hastorah, but then you don't even know that the Eibush is muster from you. So the way it comes out from the Torah is that every person is an hastorah. The etzim thing that you have malchus, you're already in hastorah. Because through your malchus, the Eibush is muster from you. The whole idea is the whole time to be megala the Eibush from this hastorah. But the problem that you can't hear the Torah that's megala the whole time the Eibishter from the Astoris is because there's Astorah shebetoich Astorah. So the Rebbe says like this. The first thing what you have to do is you have to learn Torah. And once you learn Torah b'peh, so the Rebbe says you take off the astorah shebetoich hastorah. Now once you take off the astorah shebetoich hastorah, the Rebbe says the Sisrei Torah over there, that were hidden in the astorah shebetoich hastorah, and these Sisrei Torah, they start talking to you. And what do? They're the ones that help you a whole time find the Eibush the whole time b'toich hastoros. Because the mission in this world is not to work around in a world where the Eibush is not musta and everything is golu. The mission in this world is to be megala the whole time the Eibush. And the capability to be megala the whole time the Eibush is through the Torah that machrezes tamil. What's the raya? Because the Rebbe says, not just after you megala the first astorah, the Rebbe says, azay Torah machrezes kamayu, which we have a question, what do we need to be machrezes kamayu? We got to the das already. No, we didn't get to the whole das. We just got to the first das, which das is yodeya shenasali kaheter. He has the first das that he got from the Torah. But now he's like every other person that he's nimtzo b'toich hastorah, and that's where it's supposed to be a whole time. Because the idea of everyone's malchus and everyone's kli and everyone's das is an idea of a certain astorah that you're living with, and you have to be megala from there. And that's why a Torah machrezes tomid. What does it mean tomid? It's a whole time. That when we started off the shir, we said that a whole time you megala, because you need a whole time. The Torah keeps on showing you a whole time being megala b'toich hastorah. And also the lashon machrezes b'roisho miyos. What does it mean machrezes? Why does the Torah have to scream? Katura machrezes b'roisho miyos. You know what I mean? Roisho miyos. Roisho miyos is like a stira. Roisho miyos is chutzei seir. It's like someone, like Ram Nosson said to the Rebbe once, that he wants to run out in the street and say gewalt. What's going on? So the Rebbe says, sit in telephone. What does it mean running out in the street? Because the shuk, he wanted to walk into the shuk is telling a different story. The voice that you hear in the streets, b'roisho miyos, is the astorah. So that means there's always astorah. So when the Rebbe says that the reise machrezes tomid b'roisho miyos, ad mosei psoim to'avu pesi, that means this is something that has to keep on going the whole time. And when we're connecting the whole time to this idea, so that means we accept and we understand. It's a different look at everything. The way to be able to accept, a person to be able to accept that the astorah, I'm talking about the first astorah, not the second astorah. The first astorah that a person is a matziv, which is a matziv that has to be that way. There's no way to change this thing that at one time you'll be massive a certain das, a certain lightness, and all of a sudden everything's going to be, there's no astorahs. Nobody lives that way.
Every person has always malchus.
Every person has a certain malchus, yeah.
Always. So what you're saying is the second is malchus, right away it's a star. Because it's a star.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as a person has malchus, the Eibush is mustafim, because Kil Hashem Amlucha is mustafim. You can't deny. The etzem thing that a person has a need. I'll tell you, the etzem thing that a person has a need to use his malchus letzolchil and osoi. From where does that come? Because that's like we had the kvoid atzma in the other Torah that we spoke about kvoid atzma. Every person has kvoid atzma. That's the basic thing that I want to be controlled. If a person doesn't have malchus, he doesn't feel he's worth anything. I don't have malchus on anything. I don't have control, not over myself, not over anybody else. There's no existence. So just to be messiah with the idea. The idea is that through learning Torah Nun Vav, you're zoicha to come to a certain way, to start understanding your purpose in life, understand what's going on, and to understand that the whole idea is a whole time to take off the astorah shebetoich hastorah, that you should know and be able to see a whole time through the astorah Hashem Yisborach. If when you're in astorah shebetoich hastorah, you can see Hashem Yisborach. And Nochme, we have to know that this idea of living this way, of being megala the whole time the astorahs, is not just, it's one level of life. Pshat is, there's a certain person that is in one astorah, and that guy, the guy that's very far from the Eibush, he's an astorah shebetoich hastorah. Or even me myself, one day I'm in one astorah, one day I'm really bad, so I'm an astorah shebetoich hastorah. When the Rebbe brings the Chazal and explains that over v'shona nasali keheta, and the nasa keheta is the astorah, is the first astorah, and if he does more averis, he comes into a second astorah. The pashas of the Chazal is that a person can have one thing that nasali keheta. A person could live a life which in everything he's from, there's one aver over there that he has nasali keheta. So that means we're all mixed up. Every person has in himself certain parts of things that the Eibishter is muster from him in one astora, which means yochol lisiyageh, and he has to be misiyageh. And by Chagav, the idea of have to be misiyageh, the Rebbe says, if you in one astora, it could be misiyageh, but torah will find the Eibishter. So it sounds like if you came so far and you muster, you could try to get out of it. It's not try to get out of it. That's the way it works. Life is fighting for das. You're in a fight the whole time. You're in a stir the whole time, and you keep on being misyageh v'terech. What's the raya also? Because when the Rebbe speaks about panosa, so the Rebbe says, "K'lefi cheson adas." How much more you have more cheson adas? Yoyser misyageh, the same lashon v'terech. And a person always has to have. The Rebbe says, "K'fi agdolas adas hapanosa b'neikel." That means the yigdiyah goes down. You have less of a yigdiyah if you have more das. But there always has to be a yigiyah, and there always has to be a fight that a person has to try to find the Eibishter from the Astoros. And when you get that, when a person is in Astor and he finds the Eibishter, that's called a goal. That's called you got where you had to come. It's not that, why am I a whole time in Astoros? Yesterday I went out of Astor, so why do I have again Astor? Maybe I didn't do the avodah right yesterday. That's not right. I did the avodah right yesterday, and today I have a new Astor. Huh? Yeah, that's what. Oh, very nice. Arichas Yomim sounds so nice. Also, you bring Arichas Yomim. That means you're a whole time making something more wide. I just want to say something. If the Rebbe says they have to bring Arichas Yomim to Tocha Malchus, means that the Malchus gets a bigger Rachus, right? In any way of understanding, Arichas Yomim to Tocha Malchus means that the Malchus grows. What's better way to understand how Malchus grows if you jump from Sori Asoris to Sori Meis, like I started off with the beginning. A person keeps on moving. You don't stay Sori Asoris. It's hard to say that there's a way that my Malchus is growing. I brought Arichas Yom to the Malchus. That means that my Malchus was Nisrachev, because I brought Arichas Yomim in. I brought a Rachvis into the Malchus. And someone's going to ask, where does it show that you brought in more? And someone's going to say, it shows because I have more of a power. I became from a Sori Asoris, Sori Meis. Say, no, that's not that. It's something else. Why shouldn't it be that? If I brought a Arichas Yomim into the Malchus, so I was Marchiv the Malchus, so of course my Malchus is going to come from Sori Asoris to Sori Meis. So I have more das in myself. If I have more das in myself, I have more responsibility. I have more Malchus. I have more capability.
That's just the parents.
Yeah. Right, because